Well, hello everyone. My name is Dara Rath and I'm a pastor at Faith Lutheran Church in Port Elgin, Ontario, Canada. And each week I bring you a story that takes about 5 minutes to watch. Some of them are funny, some of them give you something to think about, which is the story today. In the following story, called A Sandpiper to Bring You Joy, it's written by Mary Sherman Hilbert. There was once a woman named Ruth who had recently lost her mother, and she was still depressed. One winter day, she decided to walk along a beach. As she walked along, she encountered a 6-year-old girl named Wendy, who was building something in the sand. Ruth stopped to greet the little girl and made small talk. Suddenly, a sandpaper glided by, and Wendy said, "Oh, that's a joy. My mama says sandpipers come to bring us joy." As Ruth left Wendy, she said to herself, "Goodbye, joy, hello, pain." During the next several weeks, Ruth continued her solitary walks along the beach, where she would always encounter Wendy playing in the sand. Often Ruth did not feel like talking, as she was consumed by her own depression. But she tried to stop for at least a moment to listen to Wendy. She learned that Wendy lived in a cottage where summer people usually rented, and she was very puzzled as to why Wendy was not in school. One day, when she was feeling particularly bad, she snapped at Wendy and said, "I don't want to talk today. My mother died." Ruth continued her journey along. A month later, when she returned to the beach for a walk, she didn't find Wendy. She was sorry that she had snapped at that little girl the last time they had met each other. So she went to the cottage where the little girl was staying. Wendy's mother answered the door, and when she learned that the visitor was the one whom Wendy had often spoken of, she invited Ruth in. Ruth asked Wendy's mother where Wendy was today. The mother answered, "Wendy died last week. She had been sick for some time. Maybe she didn't tell you." Well, Ruth was stunned at this news. Wendy's mother then said, "You know, Wendy loved you very much, and every time you walked on the beach and said hello to her, she was filled with joy. She made this for you." Wendy's mother then gave Ruth an envelope marked Mrs. P. Inside was a picture Wendy had made with a yellow beach, a blue sky, and a brown bird. Underneath, Wendy had carefully printed, "A sandpiper to bring you joy." Ruth and Wendy's mother wept together, and today the picture of the little girl has a prominent place on the wall of Ruth, a woman who learned about joy that day. For us, joy is a virtue. Unlike happiness that comes and goes depending on what is happening in our lives, joy is much deeper. Joy arises from a deep sense of gratitude for being part of this creation. It's like the deep, still water in the lake. Happiness and sadness, by comparison, are like the waves on the top of the lake, coming and going, depending on the wind, the rain, and other transitory elements. Yes, joy should be second nature for us. After all, the world and people are intrinsically good, and each of us is precious. So this week, as we go about our week on this sort of Christmas season we're in, as we continue our life journey this week, it would be good to reflect on our joy. Are we glad we are part of this creation of this universe? Are we able to distinguish fleeting happiness from abiding joy? So, that's our story for this week. Blessings on your day, and thanks so much for taking 5. See you next week.